a flight attendant plunged 33,000 feet without a parachute and lived to tell the tale. Imagine a world where a world record isn't just about being the fastest or the strongest, but about surviving a 2-mile fall without a parachute, or winning a marathon by taking a wrong turn. History is filled with moments where the line between the bizarre and the breathtakingly brilliant blurs, where records were set not through meticulous planning, but through sheer, unbelievable accident. Let us journey back to a century of strange triumphs. Our first story unfolds in the skies over Serbia in January 1942. Flight Sergeant Nicholas Alcimade, a 21-year-old British tail gunner, is trapped in a Lancaster bomber engulfed in flames. With his parachute pack ablaze and the aircraft spiraling toward the earth from 18,000 feet, he faced a horrific choice: burn alive or jump. He chose the void, leaping into the frigid night air without a chute, resigned to his fate. He lost consciousness during the 3-minute plunge. He awoke in deep snow, nestled in the branches of a pine tree, having fallen through its snow-laden boughs which cushioned his impact. He had broken his leg, but he was alive. Nicholas Alcimade had just set and survived the record for the longest fall without a parachute. His incredulous German captors, once they verified his story from the wreckage, were so astonished they gave him a signed certificate attesting to his miraculous survival. Now let us travel to the sweltering heat of the 1904 St. Louis Olympics, a games so chaotic it nearly killed the modern marathon. Among the 32 starters was American Fred Lors, who collapsed from cramps after 9 miles and hitched a ride in a car for 11 more. When the car broke down, he jogged the remaining distance, entering the stadium first to thunderous applause. He was about to be awarded the gold medal by Alice Roosevelt, the president's daughter, when officials discovered his deception. The actual winner, Thomas Ricks, had his own strange record. His trainers, desperate for him to finish, fed him a mixture of strychnine, a common rat poison in small doses, and brandy. He staggered across the line, hallucinating and barely coherent, becoming the first, and thankfully last, Olympic champion to be poisoned to victory. This race set the record for the most medically dangerous marathon in Olympic history. The quest for flight holds another peculiar record. In 1982, Larry Walters, a truck driver from Los Angeles, fulfilled a boyhood dream in the most literal way possible. He tied 45 weather balloons filled with helium to a standard aluminum lawn chair in his backyard. His plan was to float gently a few hundred feet up, enjoy the view, and then pop balloons with a pellet gun to descend. He severely miscalculated the lift. The moment his girlfriend cut the tether, Inspiration I, as he called his craft, shot skyward at over 1,000 feet per minute, climbing uncontrollably to 16,000 feet, directly into the path of commercial airliners. Freezing and terrified, he carefully popped balloons and eventually snagged his chair on power lines, blacking our neighborhood. He survived, was fined by aviation authorities, and achieved the record for the lowest altitude transponder signal ever picked up by air traffic control for a craft designated as a civil aircraft. He reached for the sky from a chair you might find at a backyard barbecue. Sometimes, a record is born from pure, unadulterated persistence of the wrong kind. In 1952, the prestigious Le Mans 24-hour race began with its traditional Le Mans start, where drivers sprinted across the track to their cars. French driver Pierre Lévesque, driving a sleek Mercedes-Benz, was a favorite. For nearly 23 hours, he drove alone, refusing to relinquish the wheel to his co-driver, aiming for a solo victory. Exhaustion turned to tragedy in the final hour. A miscommunication during a pit stop led to a catastrophic engine failure. His car shattered, scattering debris into the crowd and killing 84 spectators. The record Pierre Lévesque inadvertently set was one of grim endurance. He remains the only driver to have competed solo for almost the entire 24 hours of Le Mans, a record no one will ever seek to break, forever shadowed by the disaster it preceded. Our next record is a testament to human error and sheer luck. The year is 1912, and the Titanic sister ship, the Olympic, is in a dry dock for repairs after a collision. Her near-identical twin, the Titanic, is being fitted out for her maiden voyage. In a staggering oversight, the White Star Line shipped the Titanic's lifeboat David design plans to the Olympic and the Olympic's plans to the Titanic. This meant the Titanic was equipped with David's design to handle the older, smaller lifeboats of the Olympic, not the newer, larger ones intended for her. When the Titanic struck the iceberg, this bureaucratic mix-up contributed to a critical shortage of lifeboat capacity. The Titanic's lifeboat launch system became, by tragic accident, the least effective ever designed for a major passenger liner, a fatal flaw born from a simple paper swap. For a record of sheer, stubborn longevity, we look to a quiet courtroom in Fountain Green, Utah. In 1921, two neighbors, James N. Smith and James E. Smith, began a legal dispute over a small piece of land. What started as a simple property line argument spiraled into a procedural nightmare, with appeals, dismissals, and refilings. The case Smith v. Smith passed from lawyer to lawyer, generation to generation. It became a local legend, a legal zombie that would not die. It was finally dismissed in 2015, having never gone to trial. Lasting 94 years, it set the record for the longest-running court case in American history without a verdict, a monument to human obstinacy and the law's capacity for endless delay. Finally, we end with a record of explosive miscalculation. In the early 1960s, the United States Atomic Energy Commission had a problem. They needed to dispose of volatile nuclear waste. Their solution, dubbed Project Plowshare, was to use nuclear bombs for civilian earthmoving. In 1962, they buried a 104-kiloton bomb, named Sedan, 635 feet beneath the Nevada desert. The blast was meant to create a massive crater for a harbor or reservoir. When detonated, it vaporized 12 million tons of earth, creating a crater 320 feet deep and 280 feet wide. It also produced a radioactive fallout cloud that drifted across 6 U.S. states, contaminating more American civilians than any other single nuclear event in history. The Sedan crater stands today as the largest man-made crater in the United States, a record in excavation, born from the strangest and most ill-conceived construction tool imaginable, a hydrogen bomb. These are not mere footnotes, they are stark reminders that history's ledger includes achievements forged in chaos, error, and unimaginable circumstance. They are records written not in careful script, but in the wild, unpredictable hand of fate itself. The thread of these accidental records weaves onward, into realms of sport, science, and spectacle, where intention is often laughably distant from outcome. Consider the record for the most convoluted victory in a world championship. In 1978, at the World Figure Skating Championships in Ottawa, the competition was fierce between the United States' Linda Frasian and East Germany's Annette Pertsch. The real drama, however, unfolded for the bronze medal. Britain's lone skater, Karina Richardson, placed a respectable 10th. Yet, when the music for the medal ceremony began, she was stunned to hear her name called for the third-place bronze. A catastrophic error in the tabulation room had misadded the scores of the actual third-place finisher, Switzerland's Denise Bielmann. For a glorious, bewildering 20 minutes, Richardson stood on the podium, a bronze medal around her neck, having set an unbreakable record, the shortest tenure of an incorrectly awarded World Championship medal in history. The officials, red-faced, had to physically remove the medal from her as the corrected scores were announced. From the ice to the dust of the desert, another record was etched by a failure of geography. In 1932, Australian explorer Michael Terry led an expedition to cross the Great Sandy Desert. Relying on a poorly surveyed map from 1897, his team became hopelessly lost. For weeks they wandered in circles, their trucks grinding through endless red dunes. Their salvation came when they stumbled, dehydrated and desperate, not onto a known track, but into a remote Aboriginal community. The elders, familiar with the land's subtle signs, showed them a series of ancient, almost imperceptible songlines, pathways described in oral history. Terry's expedition thus inadvertently set a record. They became the first and last documented modern exploration party to be rescued and re-navigated using pre-colonial Aboriginal songlines, a 40,000-year-old navigational system saving men who thought themselves masters of the new. The annals of aviation, already rich with mishap, offer another tale of unintended altitude. In 1966, a routine test flight for the NASA M2F2 lifting body, a wingless aircraft designed to glide from space, went terribly wrong. Pilot Bruce Peterson was bringing the craft in for landing when it entered a violent lateral oscillation, a Dutch roll. The craft slammed into the dry lake bed at over 250 miles per hour, cartwheeling across the landscape in a horrific cloud of dust and debris. Miraculously, Peterson survived, though he suffered severe injuries. The crash footage, later used in the opening credits of the television show the $6 million man, became iconic. The record set that day was uniquely grim. The M2F2 achieved the highest deceleration forces ever survived by a pilot in a non-ejected crash landing, a brutal testament to engineering durability and human resilience. Sometimes, the record is not in the event but in the echo. In 1986, a Japanese electronics company, attempting to demonstrate the durability of their new portable compact disc player, placed one inside a standard block of ice and promised it would play once thawed. During the live broadcast, the host, flustered by the silence as they waited for the ice to melt, improvised. He began hitting the block with a hammer. On the third strike, the ice shattered, and to the astonishment of everyone, the CD player, scratched and dripping, immediately began playing a tinny version of Twist and Shout. It had short-circuited into life. The company, capitalizing on the accident, ran an ad campaign featuring the hammer. The record, the first and only consumer electronics product to have its durability proven through an act of televised, panicked vandalism, creating a marketing legend born from a presenter's clumsy desperation. These stories, from the podium to the desert, from the crash site to the studio, are bound by a common thread: the profound gap between human design and cosmic dice rolls. They are the records that happen to people, not because of them. They stand as monuments to survival, to folly, to luck, both devastating and sublime, reminding us that the history of exceptional achievement is often just the history of exceptional accidents, waiting for someone to survive long enough to have their name written beside them. The ledger of fate remains open, its next strange entry forever just a mistake, a miscalculation, or a miracle away. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe for more stories each week.